Welcome to the Ladies Who Leap podcast. This interview coming up with Heidi Rome, who has written a book called You Just Have to Love Me, is at the top of my list of the most profoundly affecting interviews that I have ever done. She is the mother of an extremely autistic son named Ethan, and she worked as he was growing up as a child to find him a way to communicate, because she truly believes that autistic children at this extreme are very, very smart. And she tells us about conversations that she's had with Ethan using computers and the keyboard that will blow your mind. I don't even want to give you a hint. You need to listen to this interview in its entirety. It has affected me in such a way that I can't even explain. It's an exchange of loving resonance energy in the words that this young man shared with the world and will continue to share with the world. I'm telling you, this young man and his community of others like him are going to save our humanity. Give this a listen. I know you'll enjoy it. Welcome to the empowering world of the Ladies Who Leap podcast, where brave souls share their remarkable journeys of venturing beyond their comfort zones to craft lives filled with passion and purpose. Tune in to hear the awe-inspiring tales of individuals who dared to defy their fears and embrace the unknown, paving the way for a future they truly adore. Welcome to the Ladies Who Leap podcast. Hey, 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 yeah. Hi, welcome to Ladies Who Leap podcast. I'm Lisa Andria, and today my guest is Heidi Rome. Heidi is a speaker, coach, relationship nurturer, and author of You Just Have to Love Me. Inspired by her journey with her younger son, Ethan, Heidi's core message, love, don't fix, champions a profound mindset shift from trying to fix our autistic kids of any age to truly accepting and loving them. Spoiler alert, this guidance applies to all human relationships, not only those touched by special needs. Heidi is currently building a team to create a first-of-its-kind, lifelong, residential, caring community that presumes competence in non-speaking autistic adults. Welcome, Heidi.
Thank you, Lisa. A pleasure to be here with you.
It's a pleasure to have you here. I'm going to say up front that
Mhm.
everyone needs to listen to your story and what you have to say, especially those with special need children. It's such a beautiful message and it will inspire everyone. I know that because we had our conversation before we even got on this call, and it was very inspiring to me. So I do love to start, and this will be before your son was born. So I like to start about questions about a guest's childhood. So, who influenced you as a child, or what happened that gave you a foundation for what ended up being your purpose in life? And I know it was very driven by your son. Was there anything else that happened early in your childhood that kind of gave you a little bit of a spark about that?
Such a great question. And most people don't ask that. And yet, it really, in my case, certainly, there was a profound influence. My mother almost died when I was 4 years old. And it's actually one of my earlier memories of that day. I went with my younger brother, who was 2.5 at the time, and we went to visit her at the hospital. They usually didn't allow little children into the hospital, but because they thought she was not going to make it through the night, they wanted her children to visit her maybe for the last time. And I remember going and bringing her roses, and they didn't know what was wrong, but they at that time gave her all kinds of antibiotics, and something worked. And after we visited her that night, she rallied and came home. And in my mind, I had saved her. It was my magical visit with my magical roses that pushed her over the corner from between life and death, over the edge. And while she did survive that night, she went on to live another 26 years until I was 30. And in that time, I was her caregiver. And I had made her life and her needs really primary in my life. And it was with her death that, as devastating as that was, I was liberated at that point to take back my own life and live my own life. And ironically, it was that reality of my childhood and young adulthood that put me on this path of caretaking.
Wow. I mean, that's quite an experience of a child at 4. And they do say that your actual memories of childhood starts at the age of 4. I
Hmm.
have a memory of my grandfather and them taking him down on this on a stretcher. And he really spoiled me. He was like the last person to spoil me, and that was at 4, and he never came back home after that. So at 4 years old, if something very profound happened, it is something that sticks in your memory.
Yes.
So you thought you had magic. I love that. That it was because of you that she was okay. And then being a caregiver for that long, what did that do to your mindset, being a caregiver? How did that shape who you are as an adult?
There were a lot of conflicting emotions. I I loved her dearly. We were very close. Thankfully, she was a very loving mom and at the same time very needy. And while I loved her and I wanted to be of support to her, there was a resentment and there was an awareness that my needs in my life was put on hold. And so there were a lot of mixed feelings of love and feeling trapped and no way out. And in this situation, it was only her death that was the liberation from what truly had been, as much as I loved her, had been a real burden. So that was setting the stage. And in my mind, during that whole time, one way I kept myself going was making up a story in my mind that I had a deal with God. Okay, I'll take care of mom. I'll do what I need to do. And one day it will be my turn. And I will have my own loving family, and I will have a daughter, and we will be super close. And I will have that same loving relationship that I had with my mother, and all will be well. Everyone will live happily ever after, all debt repaid, all situations forgiven, and all will be well. And that was how I got through what was a very difficult period of time, only to later, have children. And I had one child under the wire. I was, how old was I? I was almost 43 when my older son was born. And then 2.5 years later, my younger son, Ethan, was born. So the biological clock was gonging, and I thought, okay, though, it's my turn.
So, Heidi, when you went through this period of having to take care of your mother, what happened to you and how did that affect your life going forward and as an adult?
When I took on that role, I was also making a choice to put my own life on hold. And as much as I love my mother, that was a tremendous burden and source of grief and self-judgment on my part. And I got myself through it by telling myself that, well, I'm going to do what I need to do now. Mom needs me. I didn't see a choice in it, although, of course, there was, but I felt this is what I must do. And I thought, well, one day it will be my turn. And one day I will have the husband, the children, the family of my own that I really yearned for. And that idea that my good deeds will be rewarded one day is what kept me going. And then when she did pass when I was 30, I made up for lost time, became a dating maniac, meet all these people. Oh my goodness. I did finally meet my husband, and with support, we had children under the wire. Under the wire. My older son was born. I was 1 month shy of 45. And yeah, and then 2.5 years later, you can do the math. My younger son, Ethan, was born. And I thought, okay, finally, my turn. Living the dream. This was the deal I had with God. And I thought, okay, it's happening. And then very shortly after Ethan was born, though, we recognized a number of signal signs that something was off. And we he would come to be diagnosed, I'll fast forward, with severe autism. And I was really angry with God. I felt like he was reneging on our deal.
Yeah, yeah. And how over time, um, how that was your initial reaction, right? Like I had made this deal and you're reneging on it. But over time, how did his diagnosis and the
Mm.
experience, and I really, this is such a lesson for everyone. I want you to really tell everybody how you went through that process with him and how it changed you over that time.
Well, this is what I speak about, this idea of loving, not fixing. The root of it is in my years of fixing, of thinking that to love someone is to try to fix them. If you love them, then doesn't that come with the responsibility to make things better for them? And if something is off or they're not good at something, well, step in and figure out how to close the gap between what is and what is needed or what is desired. And I had done that with my mom, always trying to help her feel better, help her get well, to no avail. I mean, as it turned out, I could not save her. And then I thought, okay, well, now I have a special needs child, an autistic child. I love him. My job, if I'm a good mother, isn't my job to fix him, cure him, find the one guru in Tibet who has the solution I need. And so I spent many years dragging this kid to all kinds of doctors, therapists, going to symposia, anything that promised to get rid of the autism or at least relieve the symptoms.
Yeah, and to me, this is ladies who leap. So the leap for you was leaping out of your comfort zone with dealing with the birth
Yes.
of your son. And while you know at this point now that you're not going to be able to fix him, but at least finding out what limitations he was going to have to deal with in his life and getting as much information and help for him as you could so that he could have a good life. So I tell us all about that journey.
Well, yes, and certainly ladies who leap, we all recognize that it's one thing to have an idea about something, and then it's another to take the inspired action to bring that in. And I certainly was living that, the taking of action to bring about what I wanted so much, my goal, and to bring that about. So spent those years trying to fix Ethan, and then including bringing, he it was enrolled in special schools for severely autistic kids. First, we were focusing on the behavior. That did not go well because the
Oh, and I
behavior,
want to take a step
yeah,
back.
yeah.
Please explain his diagnosis because I don't think you've even mentioned that he was nonverbal, correct?
Correct, correct. He has severe autism. People know about autism, I think. It's become a very familiar word. Unfortunately, though, the word itself has lost meaning because the spectrum of autism is now so wide as to include people who are kind of quirky and maybe brilliant and achieve great things in unusual ways. And perhaps that's one end of the spectrum, you might say. Maybe it's associated with social awkwardness or other things that we attribute to being autistic or being on the spectrum. Ethan, however, is on the opposite end of that spectrum. So he's non-speaking, and the words he does have, it's called unreliable language. He has very limited language, and what he says is often not what he means or wants. There's a condition called apraxia, which means the body does not obey the brain. There's a disconnect. The kids are wired, the young people are wired differently. And so if you have a disobedient body, you may very well understand the instruction. Autism is not a cognitive condition, it's a motor and behavioral central nervous system regulation condition, not cognitive. So you understand very well what the other person wants, but your body is saying, I don't want to do that. And often these folks are not regulated and they're in a perpetual fight or flight condition. All to say, Ethan was demonstrating all kinds of behaviors that were very difficult, that had to be dealt with, and that I felt like I needed to fix. So I was on it. We were trying to bring him to specialists and experts, all who promised to help in some way, mostly ineffective. And then ultimately, well, fast forward, we changed schools. They were not just focused on the behavior, they understood that behavior is communication and that they presumed competence, that this population, in fact, is not intellectually impaired as is usually assumed, but in fact has tremendous potential and tremendous capability under the surface. Things are not as they seem to be. And because of that, they offered alternative communication techniques for this population that allows them through typing and using the large muscles of the body as opposed to the small muscles of speaking that we don't even realize how many. It's the most complex muscle coordination activity is to speak. We don't realize that. So the typing allows this population to use the large muscles of the arm, for example, to type and communicate, and for the first time demonstrate what was locked in within him.
I have to tell you, while I'm listening to you speaking, and I'm sure other people that are listening, understanding how absolutely frustrating it has to be for someone to be able to understand and comprehend what's happening in the world and not to be able to communicate. And
Yeah.
when you see that they get frustrated very easily, I mean, that's been something that I can see you can understand of I would get frustrated if I could not communicate to someone and could hear what they were saying and understand it and not be able to speak my mind back. Oh my gosh, that would be the anger and the frustration would be so
Oh,
intense.
well, can you and often because everyone is presuming you don't understand and you don't know what's going on and you don't care about anyone or anything and you're listening to this, no wonder you're going to be that much more enraged and sad and frustrated and angry, all those emotions. People don't know this. Helen Keller, before she could communicate, would have absolute full-blown meltdowns. And this has all been written about in all the histories of Helen Keller that she would have these and they when she finally could communicate and could write and it's speak and write as she was taught as she was able to be taught of which we all celebrate and acknowledge her, but she expressed how awful it was to understand everything and have everyone around you think that you are totally incapable and not understand what's going on within you. No wonder she had these meltdowns. That's exactly the same kind of emotional reaction so many people with severe autism have.
Mm. So when you explained what Ethan was able to communicate when he was finally able to communicate.
Yeah.
And please explain that because he actually changed not just your life, but other people's lives with the information that he was able to share. It's
Yes.
absolutely fascinating.
Yes. Thank you. Well, from the as soon as he was introduced to these typing techniques when we moved him out of the school focused on the behavior and moved him to where they presumed competence. And his very first week, so at that point, he was 9 years old. Now, this is a kid, let me just reiterate, when he was 5 years old, I had brought him into New York for a full evaluation. And after several days of testing, the doctor had written a report. And I only remember one sentence that at the age of 5 years old, Ethan has the mental capacity of a 5-month-old infant. The most devastating, shattering news I had ever, actually have ever received in my life. It was awful. And that was the belief I was laboring under. And so when he would do things that I thought, that was smart, he solved that problem, he put that puzzle together, that's interesting. But I dismissed it as a one-off, irregular thing, like, yeah, but he has the mental capacity of a 5-month-old because the experts had said so. His very first week, as I said, he was 9, the school called me. This was now the teacher who was working with him, who was teaching him about the typing. Now, we knew he knew the keyboard because he had been taught this keyboard to copy things, to copy sight words. Now, copying is not the same part of the brain as generating ideas, but we knew he knew the keyboard. The first week the teacher calls, and I get scared. Why is she calling? Uh-oh, problem. She called because she said, I wanted to tell you about an exchange I had with Ethan. I said, exchange? You mean back and forth? Because Ethan can't do that. She said, yeah. I said, Ethan, you're here now at this new school a week. How do you like it? How do you feel? She said she told me afterwards she wanted to keep it really easy, no demands. She thought whatever he typed, she said, give me 3 words. Whatever he typed would be fine, loud, hate it, like it, whatever. The reason she was calling Lisa was that the 3 words that Ethan had typed in response to her question were basking in joy. Well, on one hand, it's what? And on the other, the cognitive dissonance of that. Is that true? How can that be? Is she misleading me? That she must have typed that. That can't be him. You can't believe your own ears. And many people still don't, they can't believe that things are not as they appear to be. There are many people who don't believe that this person could be typing. How can that be? And then eventually I went on to work with Ethan, type with him. He went on to type many, many amazing things, ideas for peace, like all kinds of ideas. Yeah. And eventually, though, even with this, his nervous system was very dysregulated and he was approaching puberty. And that's hard for all young people, but especially the young men. And he was getting very aggressive and he was hurting himself and hurting us and putting his head through the walls of the house in dysregulation. And we would say to him afterward, we would type with him, well, we'd ask him, and then he would type. We'd say, Ethan, why are you hurting us? Why are you doing this? And he would cry and he would type, I can't help it. He couldn't control his body. So we made the very difficult decision for Ethan to go away to a residential school specifically to support kids with severe autism who require that 24/7 support, that if in fact they have a meltdown, they have the staff to keep them safe and protect them and the other people with loving kindness until it passes. And then, okay, you feel better? Let's rejoin your friends. We knew he needed that support. We could not give it. And so we had made that decision for Ethan to go away. And he was 11 at this time. And we knew that Ethan was okay with it because they had given him a party, a farewell party. Ethan, we love you. We'll miss you photos and little messages. And there was a page called Ethan's Wisdom. And Lisa, her name was Lisa too, the teacher is Lisa. And she said to him, Ethan, how do you feel? Again, always asking his feelings. How do you feel about going away? And Ethan typed, I'll miss celebrate the children, the school. I'll miss this school, but my journey takes me to Boston. I am making a huge change, and I feel very brave. Don't be sad for me. Are quitters of failure or taking a different path to success? He's 11, right?
11 years old and
11.
has that knowledge of what life is all about.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
you had told me too, he had talked about the fact that he had real desires for peace on earth.
Yes.
And
Yes.
he talked about it in detail. Am I correct?
Yes. Well, I had gone into work with him that day, and Lisa said, well, let's just talk about everyday things. What does he like to do when he's at night at home? And I laugh now when I tell the story because he typed, I like to watch the news. We knew that, and I laugh because now no one wants to watch the news. But and so Lisa says, Ethan, why do you like to watch the news? And he typed, I have ideas for peace. No, he said, I'm interested in global things. Why are you interested in global things? I'm interested in conflict. So I get nervous. Why is he interested in conflict? Is he a criminal? Like, I'm really nervous. And I should tell you at this moment that he would not type with me. And we actually have a video of this and where I said, Ethan, I want to type with you. I know you like to type with Lisa, but I want to type with you. And he, Mr. Stinker, says, no, no, mommy. This was not unreliable language. He meant it. No. Why not? Why won't you type with me? No. Come on. I'll give you the iPad. I'll give you Oreo cookies, like big guns. No. Why not? Why won't you type with me? So he types with Lisa, you're too tense. Because he could feel my energy, of like in his face. Tell me, what do you want to tell me? Stalking him. But he doesn't have that with Lisa. So Lisa says, Ethan, that's interesting that you're interested in conflict. Why are you interested in conflict? I have ideas for peace. Really? She said. Can you give us an example? And Ethan typed, let people make their own decisions. Don't make them fight if they want peace. Like, what? So we had glimpses of this child's consciousness, his awareness of energy, of the world, of emotional intelligence, just what is going on here? an old soul in this body. Like, what? And yet he was becoming more and more dysregulated. So we had made this choice for him to go away, and my heart was broken. Even after I read what he had typed, that he was accepting of it, I was at my wit's end. From my perspective, I had not fixed him. I had failed. I was not a good mother. I could not make this go away and make it okay for him. And so I thought, well, and as I said, oh, I thought, let me get in more typing because the new school would not, did not offer the typing and did not accept it. The typing is controversial. There are many people, including families, who are so bought into the presumption of intellectual impairment that you don't, you look at their behavior, you look at their expressions, and you think, you don't expect them to be typing anything intelligent, do you? You can't accept the fact that they don't understand and you're manipulating their hand, that those are not their thoughts, those are your thoughts. And that is it's changing because as more and more people are typing and parents are saying, I'm not going to allow my child to stay locked in, but we have decades of the presumption of incompetence. And so the schools, for the most part, do presume intellectual impairment. Ethan, as recently as this year in school, the math lesson is, and he's now 19, the little red hen counts to 10. And these are young people who can do calculus in their sleep. It's unbelievable, but the presumption is impairment. So I started going in, so that all to say, the new school would not permit the typing. We would eventually bring Lisa up to work with him and type with him. So we took care of that. But at that time, we didn't know that we would be doing that. We didn't know what would be available communication wise. So I started going in extra times to work with Ethan and just get more typing in and get to know him better. And then this one day, about 3 weeks before he was going to be leaving, I went in to work with him. And I don't know why. It just came out of my mouth. I said, Ethan, I realized I know you enjoy going to the special needs service every month, but I never asked you, what are your thoughts about God? And Ethan typed, God is in my heart and he will always protect me. I was like, what? I I was not expecting that. I don't know what I expected, but it was not that. And I said, well, did he tell you that? Yes. When I lived in heaven, he told me that. Do you remember that time? When I lived with God, I wasn't named Ethan yet. What was your name? I was not to remember it. I had many before. Do you remember anything else from that time? I remember a time without a body. In heaven, there are no bodies, just spectacular energy. Did you choose to come here as Ethan Rome? Yes, I picked to be me and have many challenges. Did you pick us as your family? We were family before. We didn't live here. We lived in a small group, but got hurt by warriors. Why did you choose to come back with challenges? I will be greatly rewarded in eternity. Is there anything we should do to help you? I have to complete my journey as prescribed by God. Does it feel longer than you thought it would be? Yes, the journey is unfathomably longer than expected. And then I had to ask him again, but what can we do to help you on this journey? You just have to love me, and that is your job. The rest is my job to do.
Ethan was basically explaining what so many people have said about past lives and what happens when you die, and that your soul continues in wherever you feel, heaven or whatever you believe in. And he was literally explaining that to you in that conversation. And it just made me feel so good because all of the work that I do with timeline therapy, breakthrough sessions, is to tap into past lives or past generations, or if you're in your womb of your mother and before you're 7, but the past lives, especially that part of events that happened to you that have stuck in your unconscious mind and need to be released and cleared so that currently in your own life you can get unstuck from the triggers and that bag of rocks of emotional clutter that you carry around. He basically is confirming that we have past lives. And then before you even explain this, I had heard someone say, and I'm sorry, listeners, to be going on, but this is very profound. People saying, energy workers have told me, you pick your path. When you are, before you are born, you have a path that you have chosen. And he just confirmed that. He chose to have this struggle, I would say, because he's had a lot of past lives and he is advanced in his approach and his being in love and loving the world and his joyousness, because the first thing he said, right, included the word joy. We'll be right back. If you feel stuck in doubt, fear, or low confidence, there's a way forward. I'm Lisa Andria, emotional transformation specialist with Ladies Who Leap Coaching. I can guide you to clear the emotional patterns holding you back so you can trust yourself again, feel confident in relationships, and step into a life of clarity and purpose. Visit ladieswholeap.com and click on the Let's Connect button to start your leap journey today. Now back to the show. I have to ask the question. You wrote the book, You Just Have to Love Me. And this moment, I'm going to assume, is where it came from and where it birthed.
Yes, that was it.
But have you spoken to him about him writing a book in any way? Because he has that ability, I'm going to assume, right?
He does have that ability, and he has typed that's something he'd like to do when he is an adult and leaves the school, because the school, don't forget, it's been very poignant. He will type with us, tell them I'm smart. They think I'm stupid. Tell them I'm smart. And all the guys type that, all the people who type quietly outside of the school, all because they love the staff. And it breaks their hearts that the staff is presuming that they don't understand anything. So, yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Because him explaining what it's like to be in that body.
well, he has said he wants, that's where I started to go. That when he leaves the school and enters the adult world, he wants to write a blog. He wants to be putting his ideas out there. And so I have started, Lisa, in advance of his aging out. He ages out in June 2027 and will have to leave this very supportive environment. But there's nowhere now for a presumed competence community for adults. It doesn't exist. for Ethan to move into and live in community because he has very high support needs. He needs to be in a group environment, groups supporting groups. I am beginning the process of pulling my team together to create this community that he and his friends need for their lifetime.
Oh, and I know there are people that would gladly serve and help those that community of of people like Ethan. I mean, I would if that was what I did in life, I would be so happy to do that work because how rewarding it would be to be able to communicate and acknowledge that they are intelligent beings. They're intelligent human beings, and
Oh
to
my
speak to them
goodness.
and treat them in that way.
Exactly. These are they're locked in. They're diamonds. People don't realize people think they're coal and they're diamonds. And
Mm.
people don't understand this. And yes, so may this show be a beginning, a beacon to call in the moms, the allies, the others who resonate at this frequency, this high level frequency that because Ethan is not alone in typing these incredible ideas and these connections and these awarenesses. And Lisa, all of them independently, not knowing each other, not knowing, although they all are telepathically connected, that's a whole other conversation. But all of them separately, and when they blog and they write and they do the things that they do, and some are in more supportive environments, that they're what they do create is out there. The unifying theme is love. Why why don't we see that love is the matrix of reality? That we are here to love each other. We are one. We are connected. What each individual does affects the whole, and the whole affects the one. And we are part of all there is. Why do we hate? Why do we think we're not connected? Why do we think we're separate? We are one, and we are one with the divine and with each other. And that is a unifying theme of this community. And these are the high need, high potential humans. This is their moment to be acknowledged and seen and tapped into and allowed to contribute, not only for their sake, because it's the right thing to do or they're human beings, for the sake of society and humanity. We can't even begin to know what their high awareness will give us access to. One of Ethan's friends recently typed about, I mentioned math before, and they're stuck doing arithmetic, they're bored to pieces. He has typed that he understands math on a very deep, visceral level. His mom said, "Well, like what? What kind of math equation are you talking about?" And he types, "Well, math equations, like the one that predicts how cancer moves through the body." Like, what? Don't you think Memorial Sloan Kettering and Dana-Farber and MD Anderson and the cancer centers of this planet should be having a chat with this young man and not be relegating him to a warehouse and stick him in front of a TV?
I feel like these children, well, these young adults, could actually save humanity.
Exactly.
And I'm not
Yes.
going to gloss over this. They do communicate telepathically. This is the future of human beings, and they're on the precipice. They're actually experiencing it and showing us what the future is. And the fact that love, I can't even believe we have a word for this feeling because it is, when you truly resonate with love, it is such a deep connection to everything and everyone, which is exactly what, when we talk quantum physics and about the
That's
fact that
right.
we're all made of energy, and they are in the embodiment of that. I feel so privileged to have heard your story about Ethan and to know what is that there is something coming in the horizon. I mean, just to get them together in a community, can you imagine what they're going to be able to share with the world?
Oh. Oh, it's beyond, beyond, beyond. And the goal of this is to create, this is creating something completely new, Lisa. Unseen. This is not a group home with which is rife with abuse and not the model for this high need population. The system is broken, and Eth over my dead body would Ethan enter into it, rife with abuse, all kinds of a mess, having to beg for pennies from the government or from whomever, and then have the golden handcuffs. Well, we'll give you money, but it has to be a group home, and we'll give you money, but you can't pay people more than some pittance, and all these things. It's like, no, 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 no. We are creating from scratch. We're doing an Einstein thought experiment. We throw away assumptions and we generate organically from love what is needed. What is needed? What do they need residentially to live day to day? Full support. They need full support with the activities of daily living. They can't take care of themselves. They must be supervised, and because their bodies don't obey. So they need that support. Well, what would be the environment that soothes the nervous system, supports them as they need, so the body knows it's safe, it's not stuck in fight or flight and headbanging, but it's calm and knows it's when the body feels safe, the brain can activate and say, okay, now let's get to work on these higher level things, including consciousness, because the body is cared for residentially, needs are met. And for the day program, here we go. Public, private, new creation foundations to receive service and generate service. These guys, for example, yes, they can get shopping carts out of the parking lot. Their nervous systems need heavy things, and they can read mammograms, and some of them do. There are places that are beginning to tap into this brilliance. They can read 3D mammograms and find precancerous cell changes that AI misses, among other talents, robotics, big data, etc. My personal theory about the mammograms, because like, how do you explain that? And my personal theory is they tap in to that human being whose mammogram it is, and they care about her, and they're going to find something.
To
If there's
see.
anything,
Yeah.
they want to protect her.
Yeah.
AI doesn't care about that. Now, AI is a great tool, but as far as reading something that's affecting a human being, you want to put an autistic person on it.
Yeah. And
And this is the
their
beginning.
energy will be able to read the patient's energy. Oh my gosh.
All of it,
I'm
all
like
of it.
so hopeful for humanity simply by hearing this whole
Yes.
explanation. I'm
We are creating new. I have no idea how to do this. Zero. I just hold the vision. I have it all written out. I have a strategic plan. And now I call upon the source of all there is that Ethan had a chat with, several chats. And I call upon that energy to say, bring me what is needed in this moment, in the service of Ethan and his friends in this community, because in the service of them, we are in the service of humanity.
yes. And I'm praying, and I actually, because I got that tingling feeling that somehow this interview, or there is, because I tend to connect people, so there is got to be someone else that either will hear this or that I will think
Mm.
of that will connect you to connect you to connect you, because there are a lot of people, I'm sure there are people with money that would find this to be so compelling to give their money to, and they may even have children in this situation.
Yes,
So
yes.
this is, when you
It's
hear that,
win-win,
yeah,
win-win, win-win. It is at no one's expense. It is a love-based economy. It
That
is
would be
win-win.
amazing. Yeah, everything should be governed by love. Everything.
Yes.
And so the book is called "You Just Have to Love Me."
Yes.
You know, and
Good.
and I have written down here as a mother, thank you.
Here's the
As a
copy.
mother, you hear everyone say that you'll go to the ends of the earth for your children, but you basically did. You went to the ends of the earth, and now you're realizing that your child has a gift that could probably, more than likely, help save others.
Nothing would make him happier.
Yeah.
One
Oh,
one of
because that
one
was
of
his first message was, I want to find peace. I want everybody to be able to do what they can do. And that
yes,
includes him and his community.
100%. 100%. And when at one point I was working with someone like you, an energy sensitive, and he was younger and I was worried and everything was unfolding. It was before he moved on to this place in Boston, and before this was before the amazing revelation of what he typed, and I was a mess. No, it was after that. It was after he had typed, but I still, you know, it's still earthbound and still in the 3D and the loud disruption energies yanking at you, screaming that they are the real thing, focus on them. And I was feeling it and feeling burdened and I was sad. And all of a sudden, Ethan came through. His soul came through, his consciousness came through. Mom, dry your tears. I am a master soul, and
That's,
all is well.
that's, I didn't have the words for it, but I was feeling that he was like at the top of souls. So they call, yeah. And I think that from another book I read, they call them master souls. I knew it. I knew it. I was feeling that he is right there he's lived a lot of lives and a lot of lessons, and he is at that master soul level. This is fascinating. Normally, this is the time when I ask your favorite quote, mantra, or positive affirmation, but you have literally shared so much. I don't think I actually need it. Is there anything that you brought to share?
I did.
Oh,
I
wonderful.
um because I'm prepared, but um I'm going to share a quote that really resonates with me, largely because of my journey with Ethan. My journey with Ethan has demonstrated the truth of this quote to me. It's a Rumi quote. You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the ocean in a drop.
Hmm. That sums it up pretty darn good. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. And the ocean is love.
The ocean is love, the
Yeah.
matrix of reality.
Yep. Yep.
Yes.
So, other than I'm going to say the book name again, and it will be in the description. You Just Have to Love Me by Heidi Rome. And other than that, how can people reach you, Heidi? What is one spot or the best way for them to reach you?
You can reach me on Facebook. You can reach my website is HeidiRome.com.
Very simple.
There it is.
Yeah. Because I know someone's going to hear this and know that they can help you. And I just know in some way this is going to be one of the most profound things that you can do in your life, and that's going to affect humankind. This is the moment in time for something like this to happen. I
It,
don't know if you even realize it. This is the moment in time. This is where humanity is at kind of a crossroads, and I know that humanity, in the end, will pick the right path.
I agree. And have you heard of the telepathy tapes? Have you?
No, no.
Oh, Lisa, I am going to make your day.
And the listeners, this is
And
fast.
the listeners, if they have not heard of, it's another podcast,
Mm,
the telepathy tapes. At one point, it had been the number one podcast in the United States and Canada. And it is extraordinary. It's a 10-part series, I believe. Kai Dickens, the creator of it, is working on her second. It's gotten a lot of press, and it is focused on this population, and it focuses on their telepathic gifts and the fact that they are beyond language, and Ethan has typed this and the other guys type it, that they don't really need to talk to each other because they just chat telepathically. And there is a place they gather, and it's a metaphorical place called the Hill. And that's where this population gathers, and they talk to each other non-locally from wherever they are, and they communicate with each other. You will really enjoy this podcast. I really invite you to, I would love your feedback as a podcaster. I would love your feedback, your your takeaway from that, because it does honor their voice.
Definitely, definitely. And I am just really honored, Heidi, to have met you. We have a mutual amazing friend named Shelley Campbell. I'm
Yes.
so glad that we got introduced and got to meet. I'm so
Mm,
honored to have you on the show and to have you share what you shared about Ethan. And I'm so, so happy that Ethan was born.
thank you. So am I.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
he was meant to be born. Um, we my children were through IVF,
Mhm.
and we first had Eric, and then we wanted another child, and we had frozen embryos from that batch, and we transferred an embryo, and I became pregnant, but at 6 weeks I went, and there was no heartbeat. So that was a miscarriage. And it was because there was a miscarriage that we tried again, and that was Ethan. If the miscarriage had not happened, Ethan would not be here. Ethan was the one
Yeah,
meant
it
to
was
be.
all meant to be. It was no coincidence. It was all meant to be. He chose you and your husband. Yeah,
Yes, he did.
yeah.
Yes, he did.
Okay. This is a little longer than usual. I don't care. And I'm sure the listeners, you don't care either.
I hope
Thank
so.
you, Heidi, so much for being on this podcast and just really sharing so much about your life and Ethan's life. And I can't wait to see what he and his community share with the world. I just can't wait.
Oh, hold on to your hat. It will be
Yeah,
good.
this is fascinating. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And everyone, please follow, subscribe, share with me if you want to be on the podcast and have an amazing story to tell. Because I just love doing this and I love being able to share these stories of these amazing women and these amazing lives that they are living. So thank you. Thanks, Heidi. Thanks so much for listening or watching. Please subscribe to the Ladies Who Leap podcast to be notified of new episodes. And I would love to hear from you. Let me know what works, what doesn't, and if you have a story to tell, please reach out. Come join the Leap community at the Ladies Who Leap Club Facebook group. Remember, leaping out of your comfort zone is where the growth happens.